Thanks for joining us today for our last tribal webinar of this year, Collaboration and Communication Tools for Tribal Government. And before we get started, we just would like to let you know that everyone is in listen-only mode. You can use the chat window to ask your questions, and we will try to answer as many of those questions as possible at the end of the session. If we don't get a chance to answer all of your questions, we'll follow up with an email afterwards. And as always, we're going to be recording this webinar. We'll be posting the recording online. Check your emails for links to access this recording in about a week or two after the webinar concludes. I also wanted to let you know we've got Justin Ogden on the line today, who is the training consultant for tribes. We do have some training resources that address ArcGIS Enterprise sites and ArcGIS Hub. So if you have any training questions through the webinar, please feel free to put them into the chat window. And I wanted to let everybody know about our upcoming Tribal Story Map Challenge. We will be opening the challenge this year on January 6th. It'll be open till March 27th. And we highly encourage you to submit a story map. Hopefully some of you have been thinking about doing that already. Then I also wanted to let you know that Esri will be managing the tribal passes for our International User Conference in July. And I will post in the chat window the email address where you can send us your requests for passes for the user conference. So stay tuned for that, and I'm going to hand it over to Charmel now to begin the webinar.
Thanks, Anne. Yes, as Anne said, I'm Charmel Menzel. I'm a solution engineer on the national government team, and today we're just going to cover ArcGIS sites. And first, I want to explain what a site is. A site is created with ArcGIS Hub or ArcGIS Enterprise, and it's a website that you can utilize to share information with others. Now, depicted here are some examples how you can get started with sites. Maybe you want to create a data portal for sharing internal GIS data across an organization, or share open data with your community. Another great usage is organizing GIS content for students or for the community, announcing proposed plans, projects, and updates. I see sites utilized a lot by organizations that want to showcase content related to a specific topic, such as research to restore local habitats or efforts to increase volunteer work within a community. Overall, sites are a great way to organize the information about these specific topics to improve the tribal members' understanding. The challenge is when you have a lot of public data that you want to present to your members or to the public, you want to present it in a clear way so that the community can understand the information. For example, a tribe may want to show how education or health have changed over the last 10 years. Now, to show this on a web page, you need to create the web page, you have to organize the information, design the page, and embed the ArcGIS maps and apps. Now, overall, traditionally, this has been a little bit of work, especially if you're not a website developer. And this is where sites comes into handy to help you create these web pages that contain the information that you have. And you might already have a web page as depicted in this slide on the left-hand side. So you have a web page for your community. And you may have locations then for data on the right-hand side, data, apps, and analysis. What we're talking about here is bringing the web pages created by ArcGIS sites. Now, these sites are easy to navigate by non-GIS users, but are powerful enough to let users interact with participate, download data, all while taking advantage of the existing ArcGIS platform capabilities that you have. So how do you get access to ArcGIS sites? Well, if you're a organization that uses ArcGIS Enterprise, you already have capabilities to create ArcGIS Enterprise sites. Or if you have ArcGIS Online organization, you also have capabilities to create these ArcGIS sites. In ArcGIS Online, they're called ArcGIS Hub sites at the current release. No matter if you're utilizing ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online, you can create unlimited sites and pages to meet your goals. Today, we're going to focus on creating these sites, but I want to mention the additional license capabilities. So if you have ArcGIS Online, then you already have what we call ArcGIS Hub Basic. It's included with ArcGIS Online and allows you to create the sites we're talking about. In the documentation and additional information that you may see online, there are additional capabilities with a premium version of ArcGIS Hub, and that's additional annual cost, and it allows you to create some initiatives. I just wanted to point that out today. We're not focusing on the premium in this because we only have an hour, but if you see that information or if you have any additional questions about what the difference is or what premium can offer, please email us and can put my email into the chat, and my email will be available at the end. Well, at this time, I want to switch over to a poll. And Anne?
Right, thanks, Charmel. So we wanted to find out how many of you are thinking about using sites. So if you can respond to the poll, that would be awesome. You should be able to see it right now. So you can indicate, yes, you are using sites, or that you've been thinking about using sites, or that no, you're not currently using sites or aren't aware of it. And we'll give you probably another 30 seconds or so to see if to answer the questions. All right, thank you. Looks like the majority of you have not started using it, and about a third of you are thinking about it. So that's great. Thank you for participating in that.
Thanks. That definitely helps me when I'm going through the rest of the conversation that we have today. I am a very visual person, so I like to look at examples of sites that have already been created with ArcGIS. And so without further ado, we're going to move on over to some examples, and then we'll talk a little bit more about sites, and then I will show you how to create one, since most of you already have access to these. Let me go ahead and move over to my web page, my web browser. And in this browser, I've opened up a Washington, D.C. site and created with ArcGIS. And what's nice about this site is that it gives us status. Many people call them performance, key performance indicators, KPIs. And underneath each of the categories that we have, economic development, we're looking at housing, or public safety, there's different information and data and charts that are easy to understand by all those who are visiting this public website. Interactive, and also provides additional links to additional information that somebody who's interested in housing may want to search for additional affordable rentals or working with additional data. And of course, at the end, contact information for the community. The reason why I like this page, not only because it shows the information from the community, but also that when I jump from one page to, let's say that we're going to move to environment, the pages look the same. It has the same color schema and the same layout with the KPIs, the dashboard effect, and it has different charts and such, depending upon what type of data you have and what kind of message that you're portraying. That's one good example. Another example I want to show is the city of Arlington, Texas. Now they have designed their page based on, think about this, you bring in colors of your organization and you have the look and feel that you want to portray your organization. And in Arlington, Texas, they have a couple key focus areas that people in the community are interested. Campaign for great neighborhoods, investing in the economy, putting technology to work, supporting our youth and families. And they're utilizing sites to let the community know how they can get involved and also let the community know, how is the city doing? How is the city doing in each of these areas? And what do you want us to focus on? At the bottom of the page, I am looking at the bottom of the page, and they have a little area that says share your feedback. Their feedback is very important for the city to make their strategic plans and goals. If I was a citizen, I would click on share your feedback. It's opening a form. This is created with ArcGIS Survey 123. And as a citizen, I can then say what's most important to me in this case, and some satisfaction ranking and additional information. I love that. I love how the city is asking the citizens exactly what should be the priority. And then it's very transparent. I've seen some cities and organizations where the sites show exactly the results of the surveys. I wanted to look then at a couple of these focused areas. In fact, let's look at the campaign for great neighborhoods. I already had the tab opened, but in this area, they're giving the community the information about, are they on target, are they below, and then they even have a blue, because they're monitoring. But inside of each of these areas of interest, they can have different data, history over time, how are we doing, are we getting more volunteer hours? And if you want to learn more about volunteering, then you can click here. So it's definitely telling the community and being very transparent. Another one site that Arlington has, it's one site but many pages linked to them, and I'll show you that when we're designing this one that we do today. They're showing public safety. And at public safety, how are they responding and meeting their goals for response times? As the average response time is just a little bit over what their goal is, but answering the calls within 10 seconds is on time. Those are two examples of how people are utilizing and different organizations are utilizing ArcGIS sites to help organize that data and that information and engage with the community. So hopefully I have sparked your interest, and we can then move into, where do we start for creating a site? These are basic steps, creating a new site, and I'll show you how to do that. We'll edit the site and add people to a sites team, because I'm one person, but I know that there's other people in my organization that can contribute to the site. Some may be good with writing up the information, others may be good with design and colors. And so I want a team of people to help manage and maintain the site, so I can add additional people. I will show you how to add some of the content to the site and manage your text and images within the site. What's wonderful about it is that there's a starter site when you create a new site, and I always use that to get moving forward. If you are utilizing ArcGIS Online to access and create a site, you would click over and in the top left-hand side by your picture and your sign-in for the apps. And with the apps, if you have a creator user type with access to the essential apps, then you will have access, see this icon for the hub. And just to show you what the essential apps include, if you haven't been an administrator of your organization, they include this whole bundle. And if you're a creator user type, this allows you to create content and share to a group. And this is the privilege that this person needs to create a new hub site. To edit it, they would have, they might not need all of these capabilities. Within ArcGIS Online, when I click the hub icon, then the management of the sites occur. I can create new sites, manage my existing ones, and we will look at that in a live manner in just a minute. But what I wanted to show you is a little bit of the differences between ArcGIS Online and those who are creating a site through ArcGIS Enterprise. Those two screens are very different on the look and feel with ArcGIS Enterprise sites. And what's coming, what I want to announce is coming in the ArcGIS Enterprise 10.8 next year is a new site management administration app in ArcGIS Enterprise sites. It will look and feel very much like the one I had shown you previously for ArcGIS Online. If you are in ArcGIS Enterprise, the security and access to your site and content is controlled through the ArcGIS Enterprise portal. And you can grant individuals within your organization access to create these sites or to edit them, similar to what you would do in ArcGIS Online. Right now, what I want to do is move on over to creating a site. So I will go into my web browser, and I'm signed into an organization. It's a demonstration organization that we use. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on my apps and select the hub. And once I select the hub, then this dialog appears. On the left-hand side, it's just a list of the recent sites that I have been working on. In the main area is the ability to create new sites, manage my existing ones, tells me how many that I could manage other content. But what I want to point out at this point is the bottom line, do more with hub. This hub examples gallery at the bottom, and we'll give you the direct link to that in the slides, is a great way of finding out how other people are utilizing sites. For instance, right here on the top left-hand side is the Arlington, Texas one that I just showed you. There are other examples, and we add new ones. These were recent categories, and then there's examples by sector, by the government. And each of these are publicly available sites, so you will be seeing what the public's seeing and what the community members are intended to see. Every time I come here, there's something new, and thousands of these sites have been created. It's pretty amazing. All right, so that's the gallery. What I want to do is create a new site. And what I've already selected this webinar demonstration site, and this is what it looks like when you hit that create a new site. As I mentioned, it's like a little template that appears. And every time that you create a new site, this template would appear. And it has a lot of information in here that you could populate with your own data and education and categories. What I like to do with this initial template is to utilize it to help me understand the capabilities of the hub. And I'm going to walk you through some of those capabilities now. Up on the left-hand side is the way that we will customize and work with the hub site. We have overall settings. For instance, if I want to change the title of my website, change the subdomain, the site URL, they give you a preview. If you want to make something a little bit shorter, then I could do that. Or if I have a custom domain that I want to utilize, I can add that. We definitely recommend, highly recommend, that you utilize the HTTPS, add in the overview, and then the Google Analytics. It's at the bottom of the left-hand side. It's great to add in your own Google Analytics that you have for maybe for your organization, or some people just create ones for the hub site just to watch how many people are interacting with your site. And all you have to do is sign up for Google Analytics, put in your code here, and then you'll be off and monitoring the site. And for the header is this top bar where it says webinar demonstration site. I can add in branding, and so I can upload an image if I want to, add in alt text for accessibility. So this I would say that this is the Esri logo. Add in menu items if I want to add in some additional links to another page, or turn on some of the social icons. There's turning on the top right-hand corner. I would have to, of course, type in the information here. That's the header bar. The theme is what's, I think, very powerful, especially me as not a web developer, is if I want to start making these look similar, each page that I create, and if I have organization colors, I can start setting them up here. So if there's a header background color, that's where it says webinar demonstration site. Let's say that I want to use one of my organization colors. So I've used purple, but then that black text doesn't work there. So how do I change that? I just move to the header text color, and there's two codes that you'll learn quickly. Is FFFF is white. And you start changing that, and it changed automatically the social links. You can go on ahead, change the font and other of the background colors and such, and that will then be standard across each of the sites or pages that you create. Now the layout. The layout is where we're going to interact with this page, and there's different types of configurations for the layout. If I want to put a gallery or a search bar or add a video. But how do I know what is what? And so, as I mentioned, I like to start working with the template that's here, and where it says webinar demonstration site. And if I move my cursor over this area, we have these two different toolbars that appear. The one is, and there's a box around the area it's referring to. This is the larger box, and then this is a smaller box where it talks about the text. So if I click on that tool wheel, then it says, oh, this is my banner. It's a banner, and I can add in additional text. That's great. That's all I needed to do. But what about this picture behind? I don't really like that picture. It doesn't have anything to do with my organization. You can add in the image URL, or if I want to, I can upload another picture. And I already did, but you can just drag. If I didn't have a picture here, you can drag and drop a picture into the site. But now we're looking at the design. I can't read that text very well, the webinar demonstration site 2019. So there's a couple ways of handling that. I can change the text color, or I can look at the background color. And I'm going to change the background color to black. Just as one of these little tips that I want to give you. And you're like, wait, Sharmell, nothing happened. Well, if I click on appearance at the bottom, and there's the image transparency, as I move the image transparency up, the image becomes darker, and now it's easier to read the text. Another little nice tool is that the focal point I can change. If I have a big picture, and there's little tips and tricks. You don't want to have huge images in here as far as super high resolution, because those take time to load. So if I wanted to change the focal point, maybe show more of the sky, could move my arrow over to the sky, or to maybe it's the ground that I want to be at the focal point. It's the same image, it's just kind of changing the focal point. A couple little tips there. And now this box below, if I click on it, this is a row, and the background color of the row is set. And on top of the row is a text box that has been added with, I can update the text. Okay, Sharmell, that's fine and well, but how do we add some more information here? So I will go ahead and add in a new row below. So I'm adding in a row. I can drag it to any position that I want. And if I select the tool, the row settings are up here. And let's just say that we want to change the row to a very light, or just a little bit of a different color background. And in this row, I want to add in some text. So I dropped the text box, and I say, new examples below. I can work with this text box like I do with any other program, make it large. And if you're comfortable with HTML, I can look at the code and work with it that way. So my new examples are below. Now let's add in some data. And let's add in first a map. So select a map. So I have the tool, and on the left-hand side, I'll select a map. And then I have a I know of a map already, Indian Health Services areas. It's not in my organization. It's actually created by somebody else. I'm going to add it into my story map. And I can make the title. It's automatically populated, and I can enable map legend on the bottom left-hand side. Just turn that on. And now I have an interactive map inside my site. What if you have, maybe you've already created an application, one of those story maps that Anne was talking about. Hopefully everybody is planning to create some story maps. And so then we can go ahead and add a story map. I do that through selecting the iframe. And I need to create my story map. Now, of course, Sharmell went ahead and closed the document with my URL in it. So I'm gonna, I am going to go ahead and pause my screen for a second and get my little document that has my URL in there. You may or may not be able to see what I'm doing, but that's okay. And I am going to show the screen again. And if you can't see my screen, Anne, let me know.
We can see your screen. We did not see what all the
Yeah, I did.
magic you were doing behind the scenes.
I was
So.
just opening my Word document that had this URL in it. So it was not very much magic, but thank you. And
Yep.
I hit apply. I added the URL to one of the story map winners from last year. And now the story map is embedded into my site page. Okay, let's go ahead and look at, let me save on the top left-hand side, because that would be bad if I didn't save. And let me go ahead and talk to you about some other capabilities. On the top bar, I've selected the webinar demonstration and I'm at the site home. If I select dashboard, the dashboard, once this is public and people are viewing it, would give me a quick and dirty look at the dashboard and how many views and sessions. It's not as detailed as Google Analytics, but it does help people get a nice engagement overview. And now I'm going to go back to that dialog and hit on Teams. As I mentioned, I need other people helping me with this site. So I'm going to select on my team, that's core team. Each site will have a core team, and right now I'm the only member. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to select Add Members, and these are all the members that are within my organization that I can connect with. And Lane, some of you might know Lane Graham. She's on our team in this organization, and now both of us can work on this webinar demonstration site. Let's go back to the site. And it popped me out of the editing mode, and I wanted to show you that on purpose because as I'm logged in, I have this little editing icon on the left-hand side. If I click on that, then I can then get back into my editing dialogues. As simple as that. The content library and groups manager, those are some other capabilities that we don't have a lot of time to go into all that today. But on the top of the page, I wanted to move over to the right-hand side and indicate who can see this site. Right now, I know nobody else, but I wanted to share it with my team so then Lane can see it. And then once I'm ready, we will share it to the public. Oh, the three bullets with more actions on the far right are fabulous because they help me clone the layout. If I start creating this, with all the different colors I need and this layout, and I like how my dashboard's at the top and the cards are at the bottom, I can clone this layout for the next site that I create. That's very nice. And while I'm in this view, the next button is view, or, while I'm editing, I want to go back to see what would it look like if I'm out of editing mode. And then I can start seeing, well, I need to move things around. They're not making sense, or everything is hunky-dory. This site needs a little bit of help, especially with my different colors. So let's go back to the edit. Now, I told you that you could create as many sites as you want to, and each site can have as many pages as you want to. You're like, well, Sherelle, why would you want another page? Well, let's just say that this is my webinar demonstration site, and I want to have a page for Survey 123 health demonstrations. Or you may want to have another page that focuses on, education or housing. How do I do that? Simply in the customized dialog, right there it says the number of associated pages, there's a 0 icon. So I click on that 0 icon and I have the dialog to create a new page. When I select new page, I'll just talk about health demos for my case. I'll create the name and the page appears, and just like the site, we have this default template. But what's really nice is that my header bar came over. That helps keep that consistent look and feel of your site. And for when you're creating that engagement with the community. I can start going in here. Each of these are, you know, a row. I have various rows and text boxes. I have an image here on the left-hand side. And then I can start creating my page. So I have one page, and I have the links to that page. It will automatically go to my page from my site. Now I need to put a link from my main page, from my site's main page to this. So I'd go to the site home, and then I would create a link to the page. And we have a few webinars and tutorials to help guide you through some of the design considerations. What I'd like to do now is talk a little bit more about those design considerations. When you're creating a website, and we know how busy we are when we're looking at our phones, when we're looking at websites, people will, on general, stay there 5 seconds. So how are you going to make sure that somebody reads the other information on your page, or at least even reads what the top information? We've learned by making it personal, by adding those photos or videos really makes it people feel engaged. Encourage the participation, like Arlington, Texas has done. They're asking the citizens to participate and keeping it simple. You can't give all information to everyone, and I'm very guilty of that as a data person. I want to provide all data to everybody, but I have to keep it focused on a specific area. And for your hub sites, whatever you want the community to do, make it the highest on the page. And I have that example a lot when I send emails out, they said, whatever you want me to know, make it the first sentence. And it's the same thing with web pages. Have it at the top of the page. We have there was a couple of pieces of information as far as helping you get started that Anne showed you at the beginning, as well as these Engage Your Community with ArcGIS Hub training seminar and videos. We have a couple playlists, and these links will be provided in the PDF. And the customer sites gallery that I mentioned that had the Arlington, Texas. And in addition to that, if you really like the idea of utilizing ArcGIS Hub, I recommend you subscribing to the ArcGIS Hub News. It's a newsletter that comes in your email, and I use it to kind of keep up, see what's new, because we adding new capabilities based on feedback from all of the different organizations that have created sites. And there is a blog on Hub in addition to that. Well, at this time, I would like to open it up the floor for, oh, well, I guess we have our next poll. So let's go ahead and do the next poll.
Yeah, so thanks, Charmel. And the question is, how would you like to use sites? Internally within your department, internally with leadership or executives, or external to tribal members? And hopefully you can select all three if all three appeal to you as well. So we'll give you a couple of seconds to finish that up. All right. So it looks like the majority of you would like to share or to create some sites that would share with members outside of outside of your department, externally to tribal members. Thank you. Okay, so now I guess we're going to open this up to questions. Is that right, Charmel? I don't want to
Yes, we are going to open up the questions. I did want to mention we have our email addresses on here and probably put them in the chat. Oh, I'm looking at the chat now that I have time to. And
Mhm.
then also there is a email address, ask-hub@esri.com for specific hub related questions. But again, feel free to reach out to Ann and I, and we will help field those questions for you. Are there a
So,
couple of questions? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Ann.
well, yeah, I was just going to say there were a few questions, and I took the liberty to answer them but you probably could also comment. So, one was, is there a mapping component to this? Um, and I said, yes, you can share web maps and applications through sites and through Hub. Did you want to add to that, Charmel, at all?
Uh, I, no, I think that that is exactly the answer. You know, you can bring in your web maps, your web applications, and your, go ahead here, and the other types, here is an application. So if I want to bring in an application, that'd be like a web app builder application. And so I hit find an application and it asks me for web app builder. So you can bring in with that iframe command in any other application or story map, or as I showed with the web map. So hopefully that answers the question. If you could expand on what type of map that you're thinking of bringing into the sites, something that if I haven't mentioned it, or even if I have mentioned, we're always interested in knowing what people want to do with sites and what kind of data they want to bring in. So please, you know, feel free to add in the chat what type of data you're interested in bringing in and showing through the site.
Okay, so we are getting some more questions. How do we restrict the information so that will only be accessible and visible by tribal members?
Then what you would have to do is within, if you're utilizing, let's just say that you're using ArcGIS Online. I'm just going to make that assumption. If it's not the right one, then I can go into Enterprise. But let's start with ArcGIS Online, and you have an organization account. Then you would go ahead and have your tribal members become viewers within your ArcGIS Online organization account. And then once they're viewers, then if I save this organization or this site to my organization, and if they are a viewer in that organization, then they would have access to view this site. They would just need to log in, and that's how you'd have to. That's how you can make sure that ensure that it only is shared with the people within the organization that you want to share it with. That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question. And just so everyone is aware, if you do have an ArcGIS Online account, you can add extra viewers at no cost. So that shouldn't be a problem. So thanks, Charmel. That was great.
It'd be great to have every tribal member as a viewer, you know. And I guess if you wanted to even narrow it down even more, you can do it by group. And so we can talk about that. But the webinar, the site could be shared through a group, and only people who have access to that group. But I would say viewer is the way to go.
Perfect.
Does it use
yeah, does it use ArcGIS Online credits? Yeah.
Well, you can, to create a site, no. I mean, you have your site here, and you can create as many sites as you want to. What utilizes ArcGIS Online credits is primarily the storage of data. And if you already have data in ArcGIS Online, you're not going to pay any more for it to be shown in a site. Does that make sense? So if I've stored my healthcare centers, locations and hours is a feature service in ArcGIS Online, I've stored that once, and I'm already paying a little bit for storage of that feature as a hosted feature layer in ArcGIS Online. If I open it up in here, I'm not paying for people to view that data. You in ArcGIS Online, that's the beauty. You're paying only for the storage, and then you can access it as many times as you want to. Yeah, it can.
Excellent. Go ahead.
If you want more, yeah, if you have more questions about that, please reach out to me. My email's in the chat for that.
And then, do I need to work through Portal in order to utilize Enterprise Sites, or is the Enterprise Sites a standalone app?
Enterprise Sites is an application that comes through the ArcGIS portal. And let's see if my slide deck is. So if you are in ArcGIS Enterprise, you would do something very similar as I did with ArcGIS Online, and as you know, hitting on getting the icon and hitting on the applications that are involved. As I said, this whole interaction and administration of sites is going to improve in the next release, and hopefully that answers your questions. But you do it through the same type of interface.
So it's not standalone. You have to have Enterprise to use sites. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. It comes with ArcGIS Enterprise. So you have to have ArcGIS Enterprise stood up, and the reason being it's the way that the data, the information, the sites are organized within the ArcGIS Enterprise.
Excellent.
Correct.
Thanks. Let's see. Also, I had a question on, when should tribes begin to send emails for the Esri UC tribal passes? You can email starting today. We're compiling the list, and registration for the UC has not opened up yet, but I'm sure it will soon after the new year. And then we'll be sending out instructions for registration after the new year.
I think the registration opened, but
oh, it may. Okay, it may be open. Sorry, but we haven't. Yeah, we won't be sending out instructions until after the beginning of the new year.
Yeah, nobody's around for the holiday around this time.
Any other questions?
I can't wait to see your sites, if the ones that are maybe made publicly available.
Yeah. Okay. If no other questions, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I should tell you about the user conference passes. So we are limiting 3 passes per department. So, and that limit will stand until probably late February. If we still have passes available at that point in time, then we'll release more passes. We'll draw from the waiting list. So you can send, like, if you have a point of contact at your tribe who manages passes, or is like the GIS manager and who wants to basically have a handle on who is going to the user conference, you can have one person that sends in the information for all the different people for that particular department or tribe that would like to request a pass. That's totally fine too. But what I do ask is that you do not share the instructions for registration with anyone else. We have a system where we have a list of people that have been granted passes. If somebody who is not on that list tries to register, they will be charged, or they won't be given a registration confirmation. So I just want to make sure people are clear on that, because we had a lot of folks just sharing the instructions for registration, and it doesn't really work, because the registration people come back to me and say, hey, this person isn't on the list, so we're not going to give them a registration. So please be aware of that, and send in your requests so that we can get you a pass.
And there's a question, can it be a general request if the names are not available, or do you need the names?
We definitely need the names of folks. We can't just hand out the registration instructions to anyone. So that's why we definitely need the names, email address, phone number, and department. Okay, there's another question. Yeah, did you see that one?
I did. Did you want to explain how they have access to ArcGIS Online?
Right, so okay.
With desktop?
It's not available through desktop, correct, Charmel? I mean, you have to have either ArcGIS Online or Enterprise.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, so, I mean, Mark, you can get ArcGIS Desktop, as you know, through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And in order to use Esri sites, you either need an ArcGIS Online subscription, or you can ask the BIA for a license to ArcGIS Enterprise. Although ArcGIS Enterprise is a server product, so it's much more complex in its installation, maintenance, and operation than, say, ArcGIS Desktop. And in terms of getting a ArcGIS Online subscription, feel free to send me an email and I can go through the options with you. You can purchase one from Esri, and there's sort of a minimum number of creator licenses you have to purchase if you want to add additional licenses at no cost. You can also use the ArcGIS Online subscription that the tribalgis.com folks have stood up for people as kind of a sandbox. We would have to talk with them about whether or not they would allow you to build a site off of that organization, but because it doesn't cost credits, you probably can. So that's a no-cost option that might be of interest. Otherwise, if you have other questions, Mark, feel free to send me an email and I'll post my email in the chat window.
Well, great questions. It's nice to have the questions. I'm glad we were able to get moving forward with the Esri user conference, and Noelle behind the scenes helping us out here, staying quiet. Any plans yet for 2020? Are we going to reveal those next year?
Yeah, we will be having some more webinars in 2020, and Noelle and I and others are busy trying to compile that list, and we will get that out to folks sometime after the new year, hopefully in January.
Well, if there's, quickly put in the chat window if there's a topic that you're interested in.
Yeah, right. If folks have requests for topics for our 2020 webinar series, yes, please feel free to type them into the chat window. And if we don't have any other questions, I think we can end here. Thank you so much, Charmel and Noelle, for all your help, and Charmel for the beautiful presentation. And if you have topics for next year webinars, feel free to type them in. We'll keep this open for probably another 6 minutes. And any other questions, just let us know.